So I finished watching Survivor 46. I've done videos on it, podcasts on it, and I've got to say, it's pretty darn good. I know I'm cynical even at the best of times, but as much as a cold-hearted, evil little Northern Irishman I am, yelling at Americans from my microphone, I can at least look at production on this occasion, pat them on the back, and tell them well done. This isn't to say Survivor 46 is perfect, however. It's still a pretty flawed season, with some of the worst parts of modern Survivor hidden in its episodes, in my opinion. So while I'll be praising the season in this video, by leaving a like on the video it lets me know you enjoy my reviews, and I'll get out my video talking about everything wrong regarding Survivor 46 sooner rather than later. Perhaps the most well-known compliment towards the season is its cast. I firmly believe the strength of casting is the #1 foundation of Survivor, and without it you're dropping the roof almost instantly for a season's potential. This cast was pretty fun, containing lots of fun character moments, accentuated by the increased episode time, and seeing them intermingling resulted in a lot of great dynamics. My only criticism of the cast is that some of the earlier boots did come off as a bit one note, but I'll cover that in my video discussing the issues with Survivor 46. Pretty much everyone that made the merge had their time to shine, alongside some extremely quote-worthy moments.
What's up, Jeff?
What's up, Jim? Thanks for the shout out.
Nah, Jeff, that's how black people ask you, like, what the time is.
Venus is just like looking at trees and is like, it's not here. And I'm like, you have to move some leaves, honey bun. Like, what are you doing? I'm pissed! Y'all say you ain't gone without eating?
Maria's family, Sebastian, Leo, Juju.
That's what black people do on the radio, Jeff.
Spicer family.
Shout out to Uncle Poo Poo.
There were a lot of individuals that recapture the mid to late teens of Survivor. Considering I, along with many others, consider that to be the golden era of Survivor, it's definitely a compliment. Hunter reminds me of JT, Venus is obviously Courtney, and Q is Coach. Although these individuals, while similar, aren't just imitations of these iconic old school characters. They bring their own unique charm as well. In fact, I think this cast really fizzles the argument early into modern Survivor from the community, claiming we needed recruits to have spicy gameplay. These applicants brought some of the messiest gameplay we've seen in years, with many of the community saying that this is Gaboon 2.0, and it actually having weight this time. And just as I said before, it goes to show that you can still have a pre-existing understanding of the game and still provide entertaining and messy gameplay. Every round from the Mergatory and onward had entirely new dynamics with very fluid gameplay. All the merge rounds were massive blindsides, creating new power players to take the throne of dominance for the next episode after obtaining the blood of a blindside. Perhaps the best example of the ever-changing dynamics blending with the constant blindsides is the fact we achieved an insane feat of 4 people being voted out back to back with an idol in their pocket. A brand new record for Survivor, leapfrogging over the previous record set by Island of the Idols. It truly felt like for the first time in a long time, I came into most episodes thinking literally anyone could be booted, which is really impressive. On the topic of casting, it would be remiss of me not to mention Jelinski being the second most iconic first boot, now just behind Reem. I don't know how, but he somehow kept getting referenced every episode, just for his misuse of the word several. It's like that Key and Peele speech where one guy says a joke over and over, then becomes famous because of it. Jelinski, I hope you're ready for never being able to live that silly moment down. Now you and Eric Reichenbach are officially brothers. Nevertheless, this group of 18 came here to play, and it felt like everyone had their daggers drawn, ready to stab each other in the back when necessary. I think the main purpose of this is the twists on Survivor 46, or rather, lack of twists. Survivor 41's cast had the potential to play really hard, but it felt like the twists were always roadblocks to the blindsides they tried to pull off. After all, what's the point of trying to formulate a long-term game plan if 2 rounds from now you're potentially picking a skull in a box? Survivor 46, on the other hand, front-loaded their twists, with the summits happening pre-merge, and the split tribal twist, synergizing with Survivor 45, where it followed directly after the Mergatory. This format still has its flaws, mind you, but the main benefit is it allows contestants to actually play the game from the final 10 and on. Outside of the rice negotiation, which doesn't severely hamper gameplay, there was no game-changing twists harming contestants' game plans. It meant we could constantly keep up with the tribe dynamics dynamics, rather than Survivor 45, where it felt like we would have drama unfolding only for the momentum to be killed by an episodic twist. Now, I recognise this is because production weren't entirely certain if they were going to get 90-minute episodes this season, and so they played it safe. But I think this really shows that less is more. The contestants fill out application forms, have multiple interviews and have background checks to ensure they're the perfect group for the show, so seeing a meta less orientated around big twists let the contestants shine more. It also really helped with advantage tracking also. In this season we only had 2 extra votes and a maximum of 3 idols to account for. Sure, there were other opportunities for individuals like Hunter to get an extra advantage in his logo challenge, but I never felt like we were being overwhelmed with the amount of advantages in play. This made following who actually did have advantages easier. Additionally, it caused the blind sides from Tef and Q, who all had advantages in their pockets when they were voted out, to hit that little bit harder. This video is sponsored by Idle Plays, a way to play Survivor challenges from the comfort of your own home through beautifully replicated 3D printed designs, allowing for ease of access. If you have a Survivor superfan friend, or if you want to compete in challenges to see how you would do on the show, make sure to purchase one of these items, as the store will only be open until Wednesday. And if you want to support creators like myself, make sure to go check out the Creator Camp, where we have picked our own personal favourite puzzles, put them into our boxes. However, objectively, as we all know, mine's the best. On the topic of things that are hard-hitting, Vanacore knocked it out of the park with the music yet again. The quality of music is thankfully one of the few things production hasn't skimped out on throughout the entirety of Modern Survivor, and well, it really shows. The modern era has had some of my favourite soundtracks, with the Hunter Blindside music being an absolute banger. I mean, come on, are you listening to this? The music this time was a lot more intense, which I don't mind at all, to be honest. It synergised nicely with the cutthroat and blindside heavy nature of the season, while providing a unique identity for the season's music catalogue. Although there are still some fun additions with the music. A small thing I really like that most people probably overlooked is a lead up to the final 4, with time ticking instead being replaced by the steel knife, striking Flint to tease the incoming fire making challenge. This beautifully aligns with the music becoming more intense, allowing for viewers to be on the edge of their seat for the final 4 showdown. The Soda and Tevin Camp song from early in the season has been explained by Jeff on his podcast as actually being an official song they've licensed, making not only the 2 Survivor contestants technically singers, but also the song can be reused on the show. It's fun that production is willing to go out of their way to add in these little moments most people would overlook, however it adds so much to the season. As previously discussed, the On Fire podcast returned once again for its 3rd installment. I'm not sure if production actually watched my video on Survivor 45 or not, but my hopes for a Modern Survivor winner to actually be on the show were blessed. Now, I did shout out Erica as a perfect candidate, however production chose previous winner D, who is also a great fit. Unlike Devon's, D could relate far better to what it takes to be in the majority, play a Modern Survivor, and importantly win the game. Because of this, I felt D was a great guest with great perspectives, allowing for in-depth discussion. She didn't have quite the extreme energy of Rick Devons though, as I felt with him a lot more of his statements had more gravitas. Despite this, I think she was an amazing guest. Moreover, I appreciated she was actually combative with Jeff about certain points rather than Rick, who seemed to agree with Jeff. In fact, I loved the moment in the podcast when Jeff said he loves the Modern Survivor format because there's nowhere to hide, only for D to refute this, saying none of her tribe got voted out until the merge, so they definitely could hide. While this podcast still has its flaws, and apparently 2/3 of you guys haven't even watched it, I still find it enjoyable hearing various insights into Survivor 46, or just the franchise in general. The humour on this season was also very present. There's a period of time between 41 to 43 that I worried if the show would ever return to have the humour it once had. Now, I get that humour is subjective and I'm from the UK, so genetically I'm going to be reluctant to admit Americans are actually funny. However, it felt the show had taken out all the fun scenes in exchange for strategy or advantages, as if there wasn't that much human to the show. Thankfully, this has been superseded in Survivor 46, where we had lots of great character moments again, in part due to the extension of minutes per episode. We have the hide and seeks moments, the Q skirt, and the Bermuda Triangles debacle. Not to mention quite literally everyone slagging each other off in their confessional booth. This then extends to Jeff, who for the past 5 seasons came off as rather robotic with the rest of the cast. While he is, yes, the host, and a certain level of corporate-esque professionalism should be expected, you also have to remember Jeff had a hand in picking every single one of these individuals. Consequently, it was fun seeing quote-unquote spicy Jeff dissing the Yanu contestants, cutting the makeshift Nami buff off the immunity idol, or flat out telling Venus's group he doesn't think they'll win immunity. I think there were some occasions where Jeff is a bit over the top in this regard, such as offering starving contestants licorice and popcorn for some reason. I don't know, it just came off as rather demeaning to me. However, with that said, it was fun seeing Jeff being a bit more tongue-in-cheek compared to prior years. Many of the challenges were also an upgrade over prior seasons. I'm still highly skeptical over Modern Survivor's direction on challenges in general, especially compared to Australian Survivor if you've watched this video, but these were pretty good. I liked a lot of the animal imagery, such as the gecko in episode 1 that, while ridiculous, created a unique obstacle in the opening challenge for the contestants to overcome. Then there was also the snake and dolphin puzzles later on that, while similar to prior challenges, were new. However, we also had the reintroduction of classic fan favourite challenges like Bermuda Triangles, Get a Grip, or Rest Assured. I've also got to shout out the producers for finally making the final immunity challenge not Samotion or a stacking challenge. Instead, they adopted for an upgraded version of Pinball Wizard, which is a challenge I adore before Adam Klein had a break at an MVGX. It had a lot of interchanging positions, had a nail-biting finale, and something I like about this over Samotion is that when your ball drops, you're not out, allowing for everyone to still be in with a shot. For the longest time, it seemed like production had an extremely rigid mindset of the challenges, and were worried about creating new ones or shaking up the format. However, with the successes of switching up the challenges in this season, even only a little, hopefully it incentivizes production to take more risks when creating challenges in the future. It also extends into the challenges or trials, if you will, for the Beware advantages. It's clear that, at least for the pre-merge section, this Beware advantage format is probably the best so far. It definitely made the contestants work for the idol, but not as much as 45, resulting in Randon, Jem, and Hunter all finding their idols with initially nobody knowing. Plus, I like the additional clause allowing Hunter to obtain his idol, even though his tribe didn't lose a challenge. It's this extra thinking that sets it apart from the likes of 41 and 42's Beware idols that seemed relatively easy to break. However, I do wonder if production overlooked 2 tribes winning out until the merge. I mean, what would have happened if Sega beat Yanu in the penultimate pre-merge challenge, considering one of the Sega or Nami had to get on the boat to come together? Unless you're okay with giving one tribe less time and having that individual run around the jungle while everyone is collecting supplies. It's odd. Nevertheless, just like 45, the Beware advantages were all different, requiring Yanu to decode, Sega to count, and Nami to stealth. Sure, it can be argued because all the trials were different, it causes a potential imbalance and difficulty between tribes, but I would rather have one challenge be slightly harder or easier if it means I get to watch 3 different Beware advantage trials rather than the same thing 3 times over like in 44. And there's many other fun things Survivor 46 includes as well. The editors were very ambitious this season, with them editing Hunter and Tevin's alliance in the form of an Andy Griffin style video, the epic slow-mo for Q hitting the targets in the penultimate challenge, and then for the first time since Micronesia, showing all the votes being cast this time at the final 6. Even Kenzie's winner edit, despite starting off negative in the first 2 episodes, something I thought that would drop her outside the top 5 at that point, was an edit that not only rebounded, but with the context of her strong win, really showed her as just being a dominant individual on a tribe of poor strategists. It's something that isn't really seen usually with female winners, as they're normally relegated to under-the-radar edits, so hopefully this incentivizes production to also switch up female winner edits also. Adding on to this, production finally included a challenge that utilized Survivor-style trivia, which fans have been asking for a long time, allowing them to pay their respects to the past 2 decades of the show. There are also a few more opportunities for food, allowing for contestants to be more energized, which really showed in their confessional. originals. Additionally, the challenges were actually of pretty large value this season, unlike Survivor 41, where somehow a bowl of broccoli and a few pieces of roast chicken was considered a worthy penultimate reward. So while there were lots to enjoy on the show, every coin has two sides. And a dark one is emerging.